Hi and good afternoon. Alisina Haidar here, and I'll be going through two creative theories or models like cognitive flexibility and synaptics, and two critical thinking theories or models like critical thinking and problem solving, as well as red model theory. I'll be analyzing, discussing, comparing them, as well as identifying the key values within our daily lives, and specifically in the field of entrepreneurship. For each of the following theories, the main question we will be answering is what they are, with an example, why do they matter, and how can we work on them or improve them. Then finally, we'll be comparing them together and giving my final answer overall. Now, starting with our creative theories or models, which is cognitive flexibility. What is cognitive flexibility? Cognitive flexibility, coming from its name, flexible, meaning can easily be bent or shaped, is just an individual having the ability or the skills to escape the main thinking strategies and uses a different method or strategy to reach its result or destination. To be clear, it is having the ability to adapt our behavior and thinking in response to the environment. For example, if we ask kids to get into groups, the most common type would be in friend-wise or gender. Therefore, they're using the main thinking method, style, or strategy to do certain tasks. If they were to be cognitively flexible, they might get into groups by height, age, favorite toys or places, or interest of sports or movies. Cognitive flexibility helps us see things from a different perspective. Now, why does that matter? We are human beings, and in this world, the older we get, the more people and challenges we will face, even during normal day, outside work, or educations. As I've said before, cognitive flexibility gives us the strength to tackle our challenges from a different point of view, teaching us to be flexible or quick thinker when we face a trapped situation. For instance, when a very important planned day was suddenly cancelled, like skydiving, normal individuals will probably stay upset and forget about it. But if you were to be flexible, you'll probably think of when can we reschedule it and what alternatives do we have. This is cognitive flexibility. How can we be more cognitively flexible? What prevents us from being more cognitively flexible is our rigidity, meaning not being so flexible to be bent or shaped. Some of the easiest way to help you be more flexible is to build up your creativity through changing up your daily routines, like going to work or school differently. If you usually drive, maybe take a public transport, a bike, or even a walk. Try to do things differently rather than the most common options. Read more often, as it helps your thinking barrier. Change your diet. The more you change your habits and actions, your mindset will also change. Your brain will adapt to see things differently. Our second creative theory or model is synaptics method. What is synaptics? Synaptics come from the Greek language originated by George M. Prince and William J. Gordon, who formed the company called Synaptics to practice this problem-solving approach. In the simplest form, synaptics is a method of combining or merging together two seemingly unrelated elements that build the idea or the solution of a problem. The intention of synaptics is making the strange familiar and making familiar strange. However, it requires a critical thinking and creativity to be bold enough to see the similarities and differences within these elements and creating something new out of them. It is the use of synaptics how great ideas were born, inventions or innovations. For example, if you have to give the kids two random objects like sticks and rubber bands, through synaptics they will end up making bow and arrow. Or how the drones were invented, a moving controllable camera that has limitless boundaries, besides battery. There are 5 steps into using the synaptics method correctly. Step 1, name your problem. Usually understanding and naming the problem is a critical part of any problem solving exercise. If by any chance you or your team aren't sure about the problem, you may begin with answering the 5 whys to get a clear understanding of the main problem. Step 2, brainstorm analogies. This is where the use of cognitive flexibility comes in, as it helps you to brainstorm analogies that describe the problem principle in different environment or circumstances. Cognitive flexibility helps you to refer to analogies from different industry and business contexts. Step 3, final decision after brainstorm. This is where your team will pick the analogy they agree with and practice brainstorm after a precise brainstorm. Step 4, second brainstorm. This is the stage where you will get your team to brainstorm ideas on how to solve the analogy problem or forgetting about the original problem. Help them brainstorm and stay on track with the analogy, preventing them from missing out ideas or getting distracted. Step 5, drop back. This is the last stage where you will be translating the brainstorm solution back to the context of the original problem. Help your team to facilitate the discussion by focusing on following solutions principles. These 5 steps will help you solve your problem in a much more effective and efficient way. Why does that matter? We are always around people, and most of the times we may be alone, spending the time individually, such as projects or assignments. We need synaptics disregarding if you're alone or around people. If you're part of an organization and in a group meeting or brainstorming, it is the creativity of synaptics that may give you the advantage to connect two odd or unrelated ideas, as it is a skill mostly used within groups to help develop creative responses to problem solving, to retain new information, to assist in generating, writing, and explore problems. This is what creativity really defines as, being able to see the probability of something where others might see as impossible. How can we improve our use of synaptics? I think what's important with the synaptics method is the level of your cognitive flexibility. Being able to brainstorm, critically analyze your issue and referring to your main issue. To strengthen your cognitive flexibility, as I have mentioned before, was to change your daily habits and routines. Do things differently every day, as you will be training your brain to escape the common thinking strategy. Now moving on to our critical thinking theories or models. Critical thinking and problem solving. What is critical thinking and problem solving? The capacity to apply information, facts, and data to successfully solve issues is referred as problem solving and critical thinking. This does not imply that you must have a quick response. Rather, you must be able to think on your feet, analyze difficulties, and come up with solutions. In the simplest form, it is a skill that gives you the ability to construct a solution for a problem through applications of knowledge, data, and fact effectively and efficiently. There are 5 key stages to think critically and solve your problem. Step 1 is identifying the problem, finding the source of what is wrong. Step 2, define the problem. After it is identified, what is the real definition of your problem? Step 3, forming a strategy. How are you going to solve the problem? This again comes down to cognitive flexibility and synaptics, as creativity always helps your critical thinking. List down as many ways or strategies that could lead to your result. Step 4, organizing information. Before you start solving the problem, you need to organize your facts. What do you know? What do you not know? The more the information, the better and accurate your solution will be. Step 5, allocating resources. Determining if this problem is important and a high priority. The more of a priority it is, the more time, money, or other resources will be inputted. Step 6, monitoring progress. This is the key step, because if your progress isn't working well, you should re-evaluate the situations and seek for a different strategy. At this stage, you will realize whether you need to change or continue with the selected strategy. In the last step, evaluating the results. The last stage where you will evaluate results to determine if that is the best possible solutions for your problem. For example, I'm going to give an example. In the beginning of the pandemic, many businesses had temporarily closed as it made it difficult for them to maintain their business structure. However, if you had used your critical thinking and problem solving, you would find solutions toward your barriers, like running the business virtually from meetings, presentations, or conferences. If you had products, you would be delivering them or even going online, because there is always solutions behind a problem. We just sometimes don't see it. Now, why does critical thinking and problem solving matter? I believe everyone experiences problems and challenges from time to time. Sometimes they can be quite complex and difficult, while others can be more easily dealt. However, whether these challenges are small or large, they need to be dealt with constructively and fairly. This is where a majority of the individuals lacking don't have the right set of skills and abilities to find a solution through their problems. For example, if a primary school teacher had to cancel playing outside due to the weather, she would think of alternatives or solutions she may have to keep the kids entertained, like watching movies, playing board games or quizzes instead of trapping them inside without any fun. Now, third question is, how can we improve our critical thinking and problem solving skills? As the development of critical thinking skills will take time, but there are some ways to speed up the process. There are 7 steps that I have provided to help you critically think and solve your problem. Step 1 to that is to pinpoint the issue, the very first step into critical analysis. And to critically analyze a problem and solve it, you need to be able to identify the issue. Step 2 is to collect information. Gathering information is another key step into reaching your answer. You need to research as much as you can to collect the data on the issue. Make sure to seek out sources that challenges your own beliefs. This is based on the insignificance of the issue. Some may require lots of data, some not as much. Collect information regarding on your issue. Step 3, examine and scrutinize. Make sure your sources of information are reliable. Determine their biases and confirm any opinions are proven through strong evidence. Step 4, decide what's relevant. After collecting your data, figure out which arguments are relevant to your issue and extract the most substantial pieces of information. Step 5, self-evaluate. Ask yourself, was I biased when seeking information? Why didn't I accept such source? What disagreements did I confront with? This helps you realize whether you had used your emotions to neglect such information. At this stage, you shouldn't use any sort of judgment or emotions. Step 6, draw conclusions. After self-evaluations, decide on one or more possible conclusions. Evaluate the accuracy of your conclusions and pinpoint any flaws. And the last step is to explain your conclusions. Then you can clearly share your conclusions to your audience. Moving to our second critical thinking theory, the red model theory. Now, what is the red model? Many traits and attributes are associated with critical thinking, including the capacity to analyze information logically and rationally. A person with good critical thinking will question and attempt to comprehend the fact offered rather than accepting the arguments and conclusions stated. They'll search for logical connections between concepts, explore alternate interpretations of data, and assess the reasoning of the arguments given. The Watson-Glaser critical thinking test is based around the red model, which defines as the key stages into the model: recognize assumptions, evaluate arguments, and draw conclusions. What are these stages? Recognize assumptions. It's all about understanding what is being said and determining if the information supplied is correct, as well as whether any evidence has been provided to support it. Being able to correctly evaluate the validity of these assumptions may aid in the identifications of missing data or logical errors. Evaluate arguments. Being able to maintain objectively while working rationally through arguments and data. Critical assessment of arguments necessitates the suspension of judgment. It's all too easy to automatically seek for information that validates one's favorite viewpoint. The ability to critically analyze all available data is very important. Draw conclusions. Critical thinking is the ability to make an informed decisions based on the evidence available to you at the time of making a decision. An individual with strong critical thinking skills will be able to adjust the conclusions should further evidence emerge, which leads to a different conclusion from the original one. Now, why does the red model matter? I believe that in this modern world, we receive information from many streams, like YouTube, articles, social media, family, friends, and the list goes on. But what's not being considered is whether these informations are facts or fiction, whether this information is reliable, or how accurate are these informations that we are receiving. Just like the current situation with the COVID cases, we are not sure about the data they're providing us, the government basically. Some have even stood against them. So this critical thinking gives us the ability to listen wisely and think as you're observing the information, to analyze it while you're listening, and to analyze it while you are becoming a machine that can detect the truth and false within an information. You can tell whether the information is reliable through the evidence provided. Overall, you need the skills no matter where you are and what you do. We need to be intelligent readers and understand what makes sense and what doesn't. And the last question is, how can we improve or work on our critical thinking skills, specifically the red model? As this model has 3 key stages, these stages have their way to be improved. Recognize assumptions are first stage. Like I've said, critical thinkers aren't born but built. Critical thinkers must question whatever they approach. Practice recognizing assumptions in the content you read or the news you hear. What can be verified objectively and what must be inferred? Where may be the logical where may there be logical flaws? What is significant and useful information? What isn't? What's missing here? Is there any information missing that should be included? Evaluate arguments. We frequently have difficulty sorting through contradictory facts because we unconsciously allow our emotions or pride to get in the way, or because we only hear what we want to hear, which is confirmation bias. People can make more accurate judgments if they can stay objective, and go through the merits of the various views. Exercising critical analysis of the reasons provided is a good idea. What are your thoughts on the evidence? Is it possible that someone else has a different viewpoint? Consider the implications of the arguments from a variety of perspectives. It might be helpful to arrange your ideas using the model like the Milpectic, which is military, information, data, legal, political, economic, financial, cultural, social, technology, infrastructure, time, and environment. What would be a good counter-argument to your position? What are the merits to their arguments? The last point is draw conclusions. What is the best possible conclusion after you have evaluated all of the facts? Is it possible to come to any alternative conclusions? What fresh facts could cause you to reconsider your conclusions? Based on your common sense and experience, does this conclusion sound reasonable? What do the ramifications of this result look like? Comparison between the 2 critical thinking theories, critical thinking and problem solving, as well as the red model. The difference between the 2 critical thinking theories is slightly obvious, as critical thinking and problem solving theory is a skill that gives it the ability to construct a solution from a problem through applications of knowledge, data, and facts effectively and efficiently. Whereas the red model is stated as a person with a good critical thinking will question and attempt to comprehend the facts offered rather than accepting the arguments and conclusions stated. They'll search for logical connections between concepts, explore alternate interpretations of data, and assess the reasoning of the arguments given. This shows that red model may be considered during the research and investigation of data collection, as you are aiming to preserve accurate and reliable information to solve such issue. To be clearer, in critical thinking and problem solving, you are using all the data and skills you may have to solve a problem critically, where red model is also considered within the critical thinking and problem solving theory. Now, going to our conclusions. Now, you might be wondering, why have I chosen these 4 theories, from creativity to critical thinking? These theories, I believe, is what builds an extraordinary entrepreneur. Someone with strong cognitive flexibility, who can put themselves in different perspectives, someone who can see things differently from different angles, an entrepreneur with great synaptics who can use their creativity to combine 2 unrelated ideas and see things differently. In the end, they are considered a unique individual. An individual who can critically analyze the data and information they're collecting or observing without just accepting it blindly, and someone who can critically think and solve their problem with an appropriate approach. An entrepreneur who can construct a solution professionally with the data, knowledge, and facts they have in hand effectively and efficiently. These are just four of the key models or theories of critical thinking and problem-solving concept. But I see great future within these four spaces.